Well, good morning, Canada. Happy weekend. Boy, it was a busy week, wasn't it? Week 3 of the election. And it was an interesting one. As Jasmine Lane put it on a recent podcast, the news cycle is a little bit insane right now. So, what is the Weekend Brew on Bakes on Things Daily? It is our chance to focus on one thing we think was really missed this week. Now, this was, of course, talked about, but not as importantly as it should have been on the mainstream media, especially, which we all know why, because this is on Bill C69. Now, Bill C69 is something that Mark Carney and his liberals implemented to prevent any new pipelines, any new mining, any new LNG plants. And Mark Carney announced this week that he will not repeal it, which is interesting because he's also said he's going to expand our energy sector. So I'd love to know how he's going to do that with Bill C69 still in place. But a lot of people in the comments section say they've seen this Bill C69 in news and don't really understand Bill C69. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to have coffee together today, and we're going to talk about Bill C69. Now, I understand this is white and red and looks like liberal, but let's say it's white and red Canada, okay? And my mug, I don't know what yours says, but mine is a favorite of mine. It says, I don't like morning people or mornings or people. Actually, I only like dogs. Anyway, that is my fun mug for today's morning brew. Let's get into it. Bakes on Things Daily. Let's go. Well, good morning again, Canada. We need to have a serious talk on the Weekend Brew. And we'll be back again on Monday for our daily show. But this one is going to sit the weekend. I want you to have coffee. I want you to listen to this one. I want you to learn about Bill C69 and why it's so important that Mark Carney did not repeal it or did not say he was going to repeal it, because it's important to understand what it is. If you've been paying attention lately, you've probably heard that Mark Carney, the guy who wants to be your next prime minister, says that he will not repeal one of the most damaging, unconstitutional, anti-growth pieces of legislation in recent Canadian history, and that is Bill C69. And we got a lot of comments that people don't really understand what this is, but AKA, it's the No More Pipelines Bill. Okay, so at its simplest form. Now, let me say this clearly. That decision is not just horrendously bad politics, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for our entire economy, which we know the Liberals already are. Look at the last 10 years. But it's dangerous for our sovereignty as well. And it's dangerous for every young Canadian who's going to need a job within the next 5 to 10 years. And they won't all be in this sector, but this sector will influence other sectors. So let's break it down. So in plain English, let's put what C69 really is, so you know exactly what's at stake here. What actually is Bill C69? I'm going to do my best, because I know you're having coffee, to make this softer and make it layman's terms. But Bill C69 was introduced by the Trudeau Liberals back in 2018. The official name for it is the Impact Assessment Act. Now, that in itself sounds harmless enough, right? Wrong. Very, very wrong. This law gave the federal government massive, massive power to slow down or even kill, which is mostly what they did, giant infrastructure projects in Canada, especially in natural resources, projects like pipelines, highways, dams, mines. It doesn't just go to pipelines. It allowed the federal government to reject or delay projects that are not just based on environmental impact, which everyone agrees we should absolutely assess here. And even Pierre says that. But it also allowed them to reject it based on vague, ideological, weird terms like gender impacts. How is a pipeline going to affect gender? Climate considerations. Okay, we get that a little bit. Indigenous knowledge, important. But social well-being, to whom? It is a pipeline. Now listen, don't get me wrong. These are important topics, all of them. But they don't belong at the heart of whether you build a bridge. Sorry, but they don't. They don't belong at the heart of whether you build a rail line or pipeline that's already met strict provincial standards. This bill is a waste, and it's a waste of money. It turned every project into a political football, which was its design exactly. And guess what? Investors, well, what do you think they did? They walked away from Canada. Projects on the go stalled, and jobs vanished. So here's why it's unconstitutional. And here's where it gets really serious. See, in 2023, the Supreme Court of Canada actually ruled that major parts of Bill C69 were flat out unconstitutional. Now, why did they do this? Because you're probably thinking now, well, then why does Mark Carney want to keep it? Let's keep going. Because the Constitution of Canada says that natural resources fall under provincial jurisdiction, which is true. That means that Alberta, Saskatchewan, Newfoundland, they're supposed to decide what happens with their oil, gas, and minerals, and all their forestry. Not some federal bureaucrat in Ottawa who's never visited a forest in his entire life or her entire life. But Bill C69 lets those federal government employees override provincial decisions. This is what Alberta's been upset about for years, regardless of their current premier. The Supreme Court ruled that the law violates our founding structure as a country, a federation of provinces, not a top-down dictatorship. And this is what Pierre wants to get back to. So here we are, with the highest court in the entire land telling you that this law, Bill C69, is illegal. This law is broken, and this law must go. And what does Mark Carney say? This week alone, what did Justin Trudeau say over the last 10 years? Mark Carney says a Liberal government under his leadership will not repeal Bill C69, a bill that has been labeled by Canada's highest court as unconstitutional. Mind blown. Why is he doubling down on this? Let me ask you, why? Put it in the comments. Why would he double down on this? World Economic Forum might be one. Why would someone who claims to care about the economy in this election, why would someone who says he wants to lead Canada forward refuse to repeal a law that's hurting our provinces, killing investment in this country, taking it elsewhere to foreign lands, and was ruled unconstitutional by his own Supreme Court? Let me give it to you. The answer is simple. Because Carney is not running to lead Canada. He's running to lead the Davos class, the international globalist elites, the bankers, the bureaucrats, and technocrats who believe that your jobs, your industries, your economy should come second to their top-down vision of what they believe is the best for the entire world. To people like Mark Carney, the oil and gas industry, which pays for your schools, which pays for your healthcare and hospitals, your infrastructure all across the country, is an embarrassment to him. To him, pipelines aren't infrastructure. They're carbon sins. To him, if Alberta, and him being Mark Carney, if Alberta or Saskatchewan wants to build prosperity, he sees it as something that needs to be regulated, which is why there's so much spending in their proposals. He needs it slowed or even shut down. And here's the thing. This isn't just about Alberta. Danielle Smith isn't wrong, but it's not just about Alberta. If you're in Ontario and you work in manufacturing, if you're in Quebec and rely on construction or engineering jobs, if you're in Atlantic Canada and want offshore projects to create opportunity, Bill C69 hurts you too. It's not just the West. We should be absolutely supporting the West, but it hurts us all. Because when investors see Canada as a place where big projects go to die, where big projects can't get approved, they stop investing here. Period. Done. End of story. You can put a corporate carbon tax on them, but they won't be here to pay it. And that means less opportunity for not just you, but your kids in the future. Less growth in this country, less future overall. And here's what the business world is saying. And don't take my word for all of this. I'm just a piddly little show on YouTube, aren't I? What's the business world? Well, the Business Council of Alberta said C69 puts a chokehold on resource development and creates legal chaos. The Independent Contractors and Business Association of Canada called the Bill C69 a blueprint for economic decline, not growth. So the Liberals are sitting here running on what they say is an economic growth platform, but won't repeal the bill that creates economic decline. And major energy companies, well, they've already started pulling out, so they don't need to say a whole lot. Billions in canceled projects, billions are lost already. While our competitors in the US are eating this up. You want to feed Donald Trump? You want to know why he wants Mark Carney in there? Because they are moving full steam ahead with their projects down south. And now Donald Trump returning to the White House, imposing 25% tariffs on things like Canadians' imports and autos and steel and everything else, aluminum. Canada can't afford to kneecap its own industries. Yet here we have Mark Carney this week saying he'll keep doing exactly that. Now, what is the conservative alternative? Because some of you are going to ask this. Some of you are probably on the fence about who you're voting for and want to know this. Well, the conservative alternative is to scrap it and build. Now, compare that to Pierre Poilievre, compare Mark Carney's view on this, who is being crystal clear, repeal Bill C69. This is what Pierre has said all week, but even well before it, actually really for the last 10 years. Respect provincial rights. Get back to our provinces making these decisions. Streamline project approvals. In fact, he's even talking about pre-approvals in certain regions to get shovels in the ground. Make Canada a place where we build things again, for us and for others. Because guess what? You can have environmental responsibility and economic growth together. When you actually listen to Pierre talk, he talks about rewarding companies for introducing environmentally friendly technologies. You can reduce emissions with these new technologies and develop national resources all at the same time, but not with a law that's built to say no to everything. Now, I'm not just trying to stress you out. It's morning coffee time on the weekend, but this is just the truth. The future of Canada is on the line. So here is the bottom line, Canada. Mark Carney's refusal this week to repeal Bill C69 tells you every single thing that you need to know about what kind of prime minister he actually would be. How can he develop an economic plan that improves an economy by also handcuffing the economy? This is one who believes Ottawa should rule the provinces. Well, no, they shouldn't. One who believes and puts global ideology, there we go, over national prosperity. One who's willing to ignore the courts, ignore the Constitution, and ignore the people. He's ignoring the highest court in the land to protect a broken law that's holding this country back. Bill C69 is one of the biggest reasons there is a Liberal lost decade. It has stunted Canadian growth. It has hurt workers. It has driven away investment. And now it's a constitutional, worldwide embarrassment. And still, Mark Carney says, we'll keep it. Canada, enjoy your coffee this morning. I want you to love your coffee, but I also want you to love your country again. I want you to feel good to be here. We can't afford that bill. Not now, not ever. Canada needs to get back to being Canada. And that's that Canadian promise Pierre Poilievre is talking about. Put this country, and companies in this country back on track. If you believe in building a stronger Canada, not burying Canada in red tape, this is the time to make that change. But you gotta vote. Make sure you like, comment, and share this video. Thanks for joining us on the first weekend show. I'm really happy that you're here. All the comments have been awesome. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Let Canada know the future's on the ballot, and it starts with repealing Bill C69. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday.